Ethan Fairmont traced his finger along the rim of an expensive glass of red wine, his gaze drifting over the city of New York through the glass wall of his office on the 45th floor. Behind him, the world of multi-million-dollar negotiations and powerful decisions continued like an unceasing machine. Yet in this moment, all he felt was emptiness. Once Ethan had thought he had achieved everything a man could dream of: power, wealth, and a wonderful family. Sophia Fairmont, his beautiful and intelligent wife. Sophia had always been a woman admired by everyone. Not only did she possess natural beauty with her soft brown hair, sparkling intelligent blue eyes, and gentle smile, but Sophia also had a warm heart and unwavering faith in love. She was Ethan Fairmont's anchor in his early days of entrepreneurship, when he was just an ambitious young man dreaming of building a financial empire. Sophia trusted her husband absolutely. When Ethan came home late from long meetings, she never doubted him. When he spent weekends attending client gatherings, she would only smile and remind him not to overwork himself. "You work hard for our future," she would often say, her eyes full of love. She never felt the need to check his phone or question his lengthy business trips. To Sophia, Ethan was the most trustworthy man in the world. He was the one who proposed to her under the Eiffel Tower's glowing lights, the one who shared lazy mornings and cooked dinners in their small kitchen, and the one she trusted to always prioritize their family above all else. On the evening of the Metropolitan Club Gala, Sophia appeared in a form-fitting navy blue dress, making her look like a goddess among the elite of New York society. She sat at a table near the corner of the room, her affectionate gaze following Ethan as he stood amidst the crowd, laughing and shaking hands with prominent businessmen. "He's always so charismatic," she thought, proud of her talented husband. But recently something had begun to unsettle Sophia: the late-night calls, the increasingly frequent business trips, and the invisible distance growing between them. She told herself it was just the pressures of work. A friend approached to talk to Sophia, and when the conversation ended, Sophia looked up and realized Ethan was no longer in sight. She stood and began searching for Ethan. As she reached the hallway, she suddenly heard a familiar laugh echoing from the end of the corridor leading to the club's library. It was Ethan's laugh, but there was something different about it. Curious, she followed the sound, her high heels clicking softly against the marble floor. The library door was ajar, with dim light from the wall sconces spilling through the gap. Sophia gently pushed the door open, and the scene before her froze her in place. Ethan, in his impeccable tuxedo, was leaning down to share an intimate kiss with Victoria Morrison, the young, ambitious marketing director of his company. His hand rested on her waist, a gesture of intimacy that should have been reserved for his wife. Sophia couldn't utter a word. She felt her heart stop, and the world around her fell silent. The wine glass in her trembling hand slipped through her fingers, crashing to the floor and shattering into hundreds of pieces. The sound of the breaking glass echoed like an alarm bell, jolting Ethan, who turned around in shock. "Sophia!" he exclaimed, his face a mixture of astonishment and regret. But Sophia didn't wait to hear any explanations. She turned and ran, tears streaming down her face, blurring her vision. She couldn't believe the man she trusted most had betrayed her. Sophia left the club, ignoring the calls of her name from behind. She hailed a taxi home, her heart hollow. During the entire ride, she didn't say a word, only staring out the window as silent tears fell. Back at their penthouse, Sophia opened the door with trembling hands. Everything in the house was as it had been, yet it now felt completely foreign. The wedding photos, their shared mementos, everything was tinged with pain. In a fit of despair, Sophia packed her belongings. Each item she packed brought back a memory: lazy Sunday mornings on the sofa, their trip to Paris, the anniversary dinner. Before leaving, Sophia placed her wedding ring on the table, along with a brief note: "Some things, once broken, can never be mended. Don't look for me." When Ethan returned home that fateful night, the penthouse was eerily silent. He stepped into the living room and immediately saw Sophia's wedding ring on the table. His hand trembled as he picked it up, feeling as though a part of his soul had been taken away. He read the notes Sophia had left behind, each word cutting into his heart like a dagger. He knew he had destroyed the most precious thing in his life, the woman he loved. In the days that followed, Ethan lived like a shadow of himself. He threw himself into work, trying to fill the void Sophia had left. But no matter how much money he made, or how many big deals he closed, he couldn't escape the truth that he had lost everything. On countless long nights, Ethan would sit on the sofa, holding the wedding ring, his eyes fixed on their wedding photo. He would remember the happy moments with Sophia, her laughter at his jokes, the way she always rested her hand on his whenever they held hands. Ethan wanted to find Sophia, to beg for her forgiveness, but he didn't know where to start. His pride and fear of rejection held him back, and so he chose to avoid it all, burying himself in work and social events. But no matter how hard he tried, Sophia's image lingered, like a wound that refused to heal. 3 days after that fateful night, Sophia sat in a small, temporary apartment, clutching a positive pregnancy test. Her heart swelled with a whirlwind of emotions. What should she do? Could she ever forgive Ethan? But then she made her decision. There would be no forgiveness. Sophia left New York, carrying the biggest secret of her life. She moved to Boston, starting anew with her meager savings and a strong resolve. There she found a job teaching literature at Winchester Academy, and day by day prepared to welcome the two little lives she would name Oliver and Mia. When Oliver and Mia were born, they became Sophia's entire world. Oliver, strong and determined like Ethan, always took the lead in every game. Mia, gentle and creative, loved drawing, and always made her mother laugh with her vivid imagination. Sophia tried not to think about Ethan, but sometimes when she looked into Oliver's bright eyes or Mia's radiant smile, she couldn't help but remember him. 5 years passed in solitude and regret. One morning, as Ethan walked into his office, he noticed an unfamiliar envelope on his desk. There was no postage mark, no return address. He opened the envelope to find a brief note and a photograph inside. Oliver and Mia are now 5 years old. They deserve to meet their father. Sophia will never tell you, but you need to know. Ethan held his breath as he picked up the photograph. 2 children were playing in a park. The boy had sharp eyes and a radiant smile, a mirror image of his own. The girl was a miniature version of Sophia. Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at the photo again, his hands trembling. A mix of guilt, regret, and a flicker of hope surged through him. He didn't know who had sent the letter, but one thing was certain. He had to find Sophia. He had to meet these 2 children. And this time, he wouldn't let fear or pride hold him back. Grabbing his coat, Ethan walked out of his office, for the first time in 3 years, not for a meeting or a business deal, but for something he had missed. Family. Welcome to today's story. Let us know from which city in the world you're following this story so we can see how far its meaningful message reaches. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to ensure you don't miss any inspiring stories we share every day. Ethan Fairmont stood before the iron gates of Winchester Academy, his eyes following every movement of the students in the schoolyard. The autumn air in Boston carried a slight chill, but his heart burned with urgency. He had spent weeks tracing Sophia's whereabouts, and now, here he was, standing at the place where she worked, waiting for the moment to see the woman he once loved, and the 2 children he was certain were his. She appeared down the hallway, moving briskly in a light sweater and a simple long skirt. Sophia, with the air of a busy but serene mother, was no longer the woman tied to the high society world he once knew. She was bent down, speaking gently to a young student, her face lit up with a tender smile. Ethan couldn't restrain himself. He walked quickly toward her, startling Sophia as she looked up. Her eyes widened as she recognized him, a mix of surprise, shock, and tension crossing her face. "Ethan," she exclaimed, her voice trembling slightly. "What are you doing here?" "Sophia," Ethan said, his voice hoarse with emotion, "I need to see you, and the children." She immediately tightened her grip on her handbag, her gaze icy. "The children? You're mistaken. Oliver and Mia are not your children." Inside Sophia, a storm of emotion swelled. Resentment surged like a blade piercing her heart. The man who had betrayed her trust and left her to bear the pain alone now stood before her. She recalled the long nights she wrestled with restless sleep, the times she stayed up caring for 2 sick children, and the silent tears she shed as she tried to be both father and mother. She had fought tirelessly to keep her children safe and happy. And where had he been? The mix of indignation, anger, and hurt shone clearly in her eyes. Sophia, I know the truth, Ethan asserted, his gaze steady. They look like you, like me. I don't need any further confirmation. You have no right to be here, Sophia replied, her voice turning cold. Our lives are stable, and you have no permission to disrupt that. I don't want to disrupt anything, Ethan said, lowering his voice. I just want to be their father. Please, Sophia, give me a chance. Sophia didn't respond. She walked quickly past him, leaving Ethan standing there, feeling as if he had just been defeated. Ethan didn't give up. He frequently appeared near Sophia's house, bringing small gifts and leaving them at the door without expecting any thanks. He sat in his car, watching Oliver and Mia play in the yard from a distance. Oliver bore an uncanny resemblance to him, from his sharp eyes to his radiant smile. Mia, with her soft brown hair and gentle eyes, was a perfect reflection of Sophia. One afternoon, Oliver fell while playing on the swing. Ethan couldn't stop himself from rushing over. He lifted Oliver, checking the scrape on his knee. Sophia ran out of the house. Are you okay? He asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Oliver looked at him with curious eyes but showed no fear. Who are you? The boy asked. Sophia pulled Oliver close, her eyes full of caution. Go inside, Oliver, she said shortly. Oliver obediently went inside, leaving Ethan and Sophia facing each other. You can't keep doing this, Ethan, she said coldly. I just want to help, he replied, his voice pleading. Sophia, please, give me a chance. Just one. If you still don't want me in their lives, I'll leave. But let me meet them. Just once. In the end, Sophia agreed, not because she wanted to, but because she knew Ethan wouldn't give up. Fine, you can meet them, but under one condition. You must follow my rules. Don't disrupt their stability, don't confuse them, and don't expect anything big. Ethan nodded, his heart swelling with emotion. The next day, Sophia told Oliver and Mia that they would meet an old friend of hers. This person is very important, she said, trying to keep her voice light. I want you two to spend some time getting to know him. Oliver, with the curiosity of a lively boy, asked immediately, Who is he? Does he like Lego? Mia, more timid, simply stood behind her mother, clutching her hand tightly. The first meeting took place in Sophia's garden. Ethan brought a large Lego set, Oliver's favorite toy, and a set of crayons for Mia. He sat down on the grass, trying to keep everything natural. Oliver was instantly drawn to the Lego set. Do you know how to build a bridge? He asked, his eyes lighting up. Ethan smiled, feeling as though part of the invisible wall between them had been taken down. Of course, I can show you how to make the strongest bridge. Mia, though still shy, eventually sat closer to Ethan when he praised the drawing she was coloring. Mom said you're her old friend, Oliver said, his eyes still fixed on the Lego model. But how come we've never met you before? Ethan glanced at Sophia, who stood nearby, observing his every move. She gave a small nod, signaling that he could answer. I made a mistake by not being here from the beginning, Ethan said, his voice growing quieter. But now I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. In the subsequent meetings, Ethan gradually became a familiar part of Oliver and Mia's lives. He participated in small but meaningful activities, helping Oliver build complex Lego towers, reading fairy tales to Mia before bedtime, and sitting in the audience during school performances. Oliver started calling Ethan Uncle Ethan and often sought his advice on creative ideas for his Lego models. Mia, though slower to open up, one day brought Ethan a drawing she had made. The whole family with a tall man standing next to her mother. This is me, isn't it? Ethan asked, feeling as though his heart might burst. Mia nodded, her cheeks turning pink. I think you could be part of the family. Sophia, once a cold and deeply hurt woman, began to notice the sincerity in Ethan's efforts. She saw that he wasn't just trying to be a father, but was also working to become a better man. One evening, after Oliver and Mia had gone to bed, Ethan stayed to help her tidy up. As he picked up a box of Legos, Sophia softly said, You've really changed, Ethan, and I'm starting to believe that you can do this. Ethan looked at her, his eyes filled with emotion. I won't let you down. Never again. That evening, as the two sat in the small kitchen sipping tea, they didn't need to say much. The warm silence between them marked the first step of a new journey, the journey of mending the family they had lost. Thank you for following this story. Let us know in the comments if you enjoy meaningful stories like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Ethan Fairmont was gradually finding his new rhythm of life with Oliver and Mia. His weekends were no longer filled with stressful meetings or lavish parties, but with time spent with his children, building Lego models with Oliver, drawing with Mia, or simply listening to them talk about school. On a late autumn afternoon, pale sunlight streamed through the living room window. Ethan sat on the carpet, assembling a complex Lego model with Oliver. Mia sat nearby, focused on her drawing. Sophia, standing in the kitchen preparing tea, watched quietly from afar. "Dad, Ethan," Oliver suddenly called out, silencing the entire room. Ethan looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. It was the first time the boy had called him that. Oliver held a Lego piece, tilting his head in thought. "If you're really my dad, then would Mia and I look like you? I see that Mia has mom's eyes, and as for me..." The boy paused, his eyes filled with curiosity. "I think I look like you, don't I?" Ethan felt his heart swell to the point of bursting. He glanced at Sophia, who stood silently, her hands tightly gripping her teacup. She said nothing but gave a small nod, signaling that he could tell the truth. "Oliver," Ethan began, his voice gentle yet full of emotion, "yes, you look like me. You and Mia are both my children." Oliver's eyes widened, then he beamed. "I knew it. Dad and I have the same eyes." Mia looked up from her drawing, her large, hesitant eyes meeting Ethan's. "So, Uncle Ethan, you're really my dad?" Ethan knelt down, gently stroking Mia's soft hair. "Yes, Mia, I am your dad, and I am so proud to have you both in my life." Mia stared at Ethan for a long moment, as if to ensure the truth of his words. Then she suddenly threw her arms around him, whispering, "I love you, Dad." Ethan held the two children tightly, silent tears streaming down his cheeks. For the first time in his life, he felt the profound meaning of fatherhood. Sophia, standing at a distance, smiled faintly. She knew that, though everything wasn't perfect yet, this family was beginning to heal, starting with that honest moment. But just as life seemed to be settling, it was shaken by a name from the past: Victoria Morrison. One afternoon, while Sophia was tidying the house after school, the doorbell rang. She opened the door and froze. Standing there was Victoria, her pregnant belly unmistakable, her eyes filled with hesitation. "Sophia," Victoria began, her voice trembling. "I know I'm not welcome, but I need to speak with you and Ethan." Sophia didn't respond immediately. Victoria's presence dredged up painful memories she had worked hard to bury. But after a moment's hesitation, she opened the door and led Victoria to the living room. Ethan, who had been reading to Mia, looked up and instantly recognized the visitor. "Victoria?" Victoria nodded, her gaze moving from Ethan to Sophia. "I didn't mean to intrude, but there's something I need to clear up, and I want to apologize." Sophia sat down across from her, maintaining a composed demeanor. "What do you want to say?" "I'm the one who sent the letter to you, Ethan," Victoria began. "I've known about Oliver and Mia for a long time, and I realized you deserved to know the truth." Ethan was stunned. "You sent the letter? Why?" Victoria took a deep breath, guilt flickering in her eyes. "When I found out I was pregnant, I started reflecting on everything I had done. I had destroyed your family. I couldn't bear the thought of those children growing up not knowing their father, just like I did. I sent the letter not to interfere, but to try to make amends for my mistakes." Sophia's face remained expressionless, but her hands gripped the chair tightly. "And you thought sending a letter would fix everything?" "I don't expect forgiveness," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to do the right thing, even if it's too late." Victoria turned to Sophia, her eyes brimming with tears. "Sophia, I can't imagine the pain I caused you. My relationship with Ethan was a terrible mistake. It wasn't worth the happiness of you and your family. I'm sorry. I know an apology can't change the past, but I truly hope you can find happiness." Sophia looked at Victoria for a long time. Anger, hurt, and painful memories surged within her, but deep down she realized that holding on to hatred wouldn't bring anything good, especially when her children needed her focus. "Victoria, Sophia said, her voice measured but firm. I can't say that I forgive you right now, but I also won't waste my time on hatred. What matters most now is Oliver and Mia. I won't let anyone or anything disrupt their stability. Victoria nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. I won't interfere with your family's life anymore. I just wanted your children to have what they deserve, a father who loves them and is present in their lives. After Victoria left, Ethan remained in the living room with Sophia. The air between them was tense but filled with unspoken words. Sophia, Ethan finally broke the silence. I don't know what to say. Victoria showing up reminded me of all the mistakes I've made. But I want you to know that everything I'm doing now is to fix and rebuild what we have. Not because of Victoria, not because of the past, but because of you and the kids. Sophia looked at him, her eyes softening slightly. Ethan, I can see that you're trying, and I want us to move forward too. But it's not easy. I need time, and you have to prove that you've truly changed. Ethan nodded, his determination unwavering. I'll do whatever it takes, Sophia. I never want to let you and the kids down again. In the days that followed, Ethan focused on being a father to Oliver and Mia. He became involved in every aspect of their lives, helping Oliver prepare for his school presentation, making birthday cards with Mia for her friends, and always being present at their small school performances. Sophia, though still cautious, began to notice the changes in Ethan. Once, as she watched him patiently guide Oliver through finishing a Lego model, she couldn't deny that he had become a devoted father. Victoria kept her promise and completely withdrew from their family's life. However, her presence had left a valuable lesson. The past, no matter how painful, could serve as a catalyst for change and growth. One evening, as the whole family sat together in the living room, Mia climbed onto Ethan's lap and placed a gentle kiss on his cheek. I love you, Dad, she whispered, melting Ethan's heart. Sophia watched the scene, her heart softening. She knew their journey was far from over, but she began to believe that, with love and forgiveness, they could rebuild a real family together. Are you still following the story? Comment pizza to let us know you're keeping up. The snowstorm came quickly and fiercely, accompanied by biting, icy winds. Sophia peered through the car window as faint streetlights blurred past in the thick blanket of white. She had taken Oliver and Mia to see the circus, a night they had eagerly anticipated. As the snow fell heavier, she gripped the steering wheel tightly, hoping to get the children to safety. Suddenly, a large truck speeding from the opposite direction roared past. The slippery road caused Sophia's car to lose control immediately. She turned the wheel, but everything happened too quickly. All three in the car could only cry out in panic before the vehicle slammed into the median and flipped over in the middle of the road. While Ethan was sitting in his office, a call from Evelyn, Sophia's mother, broke his train of thought. Her trembling voice, filled with urgency, shattered his composure. In mere seconds, Ethan felt as if his entire world was collapsing. Ethan, Sophia, and the kids were in an accident. All three are at a hospital in Boston, and Sophia's condition is very serious. The snowstorm hadn't just stolen a moment. It had threatened to take away the most precious parts of his life. Ethan couldn't think of anything except getting to the hospital immediately. He grabbed his suitcase, raced to the airport, and boarded the first flight to Boston. Every minute and every second on that flight weighed on him like a heavy burden, consumed by fear that he might lose what mattered most: his family. When Ethan arrived at the hospital, he caught sight of Evelyn's tear-streaked face and Mia and Oliver, both with only minor scrapes, sitting in the waiting room. Meanwhile, Sophia had been rushed into the emergency room. Ethan's chest tightened as he took in the hollow expressions of the two children. Oliver clung tightly to his grandmother's hand, while Mia sat silently, her eyes full of worry. Oliver, Mia! Ethan called their names, trying to keep his voice steady. Inside, though, he was falling apart. Dad, Mom isn't waking up! Mom isn't waking up! Oliver cried, his eyes red with tears. She isn't smiling anymore, Dad. Ethan hurriedly stepped forward, embracing the two children tightly. He couldn't think of any comforting words except a promise to protect them, even though he himself didn't know what Sophia's condition would be. A doctor approached, his expression heavy. She has suffered a severe brain injury. We are doing everything we can, but time is critical. Ethan froze. His heart felt like it was plunging into an abyss. The doctor's words only heightened the fear rising within him. Time passed in anxious waiting. Ethan couldn't leave the hospital, couldn't take his eyes off Sophia's bed. He sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, watching every faint breath she took. Each passing minute felt like a year. He blamed himself for his past mistakes, for neglecting his family in pursuit of wealth and power, forgetting what mattered most, his family. Through long, silent nights, Ethan could only sit there in desperate prayer, hoping for Sophia to wake up. Some nights, he would hold her hand and talk to her, confessing his regrets, how much he had missed her since she left, and how much the children needed her, clinging to the single hope that she would regain consciousness. Both children, despite trying to comfort Ethan gently, couldn't fully grasp the seriousness of the situation. Only Ethan, deep in his heart, understood that losing Sophia would mean losing everything. A week after the accident, Sophia woke up. Her eyes blinked slowly, gradually taking in her surroundings. She realized she was lying in a hospital bed, her body aching all over. Ethan stood beside her bed, gazing at her with eyes full of concern. "I'm here, Sophia," Ethan whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "I'm here. You're safe now." Sophia turned her head to look at him, her vision slightly blurred before everything came into focus. You're okay?" Ethan gently held her hand. "You're badly injured, but the kids are fine. You don't need to worry. I'll always be here for you." Sophia looked at him quietly, and then her gaze softened. "You're still here." "Thank you, Ethan." Ethan looked into her eyes, his own filled with unspoken emotions. "You don't know how scared I was. I've made so many mistakes in the past, but now, you and the kids are everything to me. I'll never let you or the children suffer again." Sophia stared at him for a long time, her lips parting as though to say something, but then closing again. Her head still seemed heavy from the lingering fog of unconsciousness, but in that moment, she felt the sincerity of his love in every word he spoke. After Sophia regained consciousness and her condition stabilized, Ethan devoted all his time to her and the children. He decided not to return to Fairmont Enterprises. What he needed wasn't deals or high-level meetings, but his family: Sophia, Oliver, and Mia. One day after Sophia was discharged, as the whole family sat together, Ethan abruptly said to Sophia, "I've made my decision. I'm going to sell the company. I can't keep living in the facade of material success while neglecting the most important people in my life. You and the kids are the only family I need." Sophia looked at him without saying a word, but her gaze had changed. She knew Ethan had changed. Although the past was still there, he was making an effort to rebuild from the ground up. "The company is your life's work. Selling it is a big decision. You need to think it through carefully," Sophia said gently, though her tone had softened significantly. "I've thought about it a lot. You and the kids are what matter most to me," Ethan said firmly. "All right, then we'll start over," Sophia said. The decision to sell Fairmont Enterprises was a bold and risky move, but Ethan no longer cared. Calls from partners and negotiation contracts no longer held importance. He only wanted to live with his family, to be a father to Oliver and Mia, and to be a better husband to Sophia. While the children played in the garden, Ethan and Sophia sat together, watching the happy moments they had missed. The children's laughter, the joyful stories during meals. These were the priceless things he had found again. "Thank you for giving me this chance," Ethan said, his voice calm. "I can't lose you again." Sophia smiled, reaching out to hold his hand. "We'll rebuild everything together, this time the right way." In that moment, Ethan realized that life wasn't about empires or successes he once chased. Life was about family, love, and the simple yet meaningful moments. A few months after the accident, Sophia and Ethan's family life began to stabilize. Ethan dedicated all his time to Oliver and Mia, being there for them in every small moment of their lives. Sophia, though still slightly cautious, started to see the clear change in Ethan. A man once obsessed with power, now transformed into a devoted father and companion. One late spring afternoon, as gentle breezes filled the garden with floral scents, Ethan prepared a simple outdoor dinner. Oliver and Mia ran excitedly around, helping their dad set up the table under the large tree. Sophia, reading on a lounge chair, glanced up as Ethan approached. holding a small box in his hands. "Sophia," he said, his deep voice warm but tinged with nervousness. "I know I've hurt you before and lost your trust, but over these past months I've realized that my life only has meaning when you and the kids are by my side." Sophia put down her book, her eyes full of emotion as she looked at him. "I have nothing to promise except that I'll try every day to be worthy of you and our little family," Ethan continued. He knelt down, opened the box, and revealed a simple yet elegant ring. "Sophia, will you start over with me, this time for love and completeness?" Oliver and Mia stood nearby, their eyes bright with excitement as they cheered in unison. "Say yes, Mom!" Sophia laughed, tears quietly streaming down her cheeks. She nodded and softly said, "I will." The wedding took place a few weeks later at Sophia's pale green house in Boston. It was not a lavish ceremony like before, but a simple, cozy day, attended only by family and close friends. Oliver and Mia played special roles in the wedding. Oliver insisted on wearing his favorite explorer hat, while Mia was determined to decorate the garden with paper dinosaurs and unicorns she had made herself. Sophia didn't stop them. She simply smiled and let the children showcase their creativity. The small garden table was adorned with wildflowers, and the dishes were all prepared by Ethan himself, with the help of Evelyn, Sophia's mother. Tiny twinkling lights hung from the trees, creating a warm and romantic ambiance. Sophia descended the steps of her house, wearing a simple yet elegant white dress, clutching a bouquet Mia had chosen. Ethan stood under the large tree, his eyes never leaving Sophia. As she approached, he softly said, "You look beautiful." When they exchanged vows before their family and friends, the atmosphere grew quiet, filled only with heartfelt words. "Sophia," Ethan began, his voice full of emotion, "I promise to always put you and the kids first. I promise never to repeat the mistakes of the past. I promise to build a family with you that we can both be proud of." "Ethan," Sophia responded, her eyes sparkling, "I promise to trust you again. I promise to walk with you, no matter how difficult the road ahead may be, and I promise to always cherish what we have rediscovered together." Oliver and Mia jumped with joy as their parents shared their first kiss as husband and wife once again. The ceremony ended with the laughter of children and the warmth of loved ones. Oliver and Mia proudly showed off their unicorn and dinosaur crafts to the guests, while Ethan and Sophia sat together, feeling the clarity of stepping into a new chapter. That evening, under a star-filled sky, the family gathered in their small garden. Mia rested her head on Sophia's lap, while Oliver clutched the stuffed dinosaur he always carried. Ethan and Sophia sat side by side on a long bench, holding hands, their eyes gazing into the horizon. "What are you thinking about?" Sophia asked softly. Ethan smiled, turning to look at her. "I'm thinking about our journey. So many mistakes, so many tears, but in the end, we're still here." Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder, her voice gentle. "Sometimes what matters is not the path we've taken, but how we've learned to walk it together." Ethan nodded slightly. "Thank you, Sophia, for giving me a second chance. I'll never take it for granted." Under the stars, the two of them sat there, basking in a sense of complete peace. Oliver and Mia had fallen asleep, their dreams filled with colorful unicorns and castles. Their story wasn't a perfect one, but it was a story about true love, a love that could stumble, could break, but with enough faith and forgiveness, would always find its way back. Sometimes happiness isn't found in grand gestures, but in the simple, meaningful moments shared with the ones we love the most. Thank you for following this story to the end. What do you think of it? Rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, and share the story with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section.